Israel with us, and I'd just like to ask some questions with regard to the green investment. The first one is, what is really a green oil, if you can elaborate on this question?
Actually, green oil, it isn't green oil, it's actually brown. But for marketing reasons, we have called it green oil because I think it allows people to understand what we're actually promoting. So rather than it being a fossil fuel, it's renewable energy, which is grown. It comes from trees, from plants, and it's renewable and a sustainable source of energy.
And if you're talking about green oil or the biofuel, can you just tell us what is the demand for this?
Demand for biofuels is basically at present there is not enough production of biofuel. If I could take the European Union, for example, coming from the UK, every time that anyone fills up their car anywhere within the UK, actually 3.75% of that is coming from basically a tree or a plant. If you go to other countries in Europe which are slightly more advanced, in Germany at the pumps you can get a 10% mix of biofuel.
As we know, there is quite a lot of demand for the green oil, so I'd really like to listen, to hear about that. I'm sure there is a lot that you can tell us about it.
Okay, demand for biofuel worldwide. At present, it's a direct replacement for fossil fuel, and calorifically it's exactly the same as a fossil fuel. It could be used as a replacement worldwide. The problem is there isn't actually enough. Now, I don't think anyone within the world of biofuels would ever profess that you can replace fossil fuels. It's absolutely impossible. But there will always be a market, and it's basically a problem of supply rather than actual demand. Now, within taking the European Union, we're an English company, so taking England or the UK for an example, every time that you fill a car within England or Britain, 3.75% of that fuel at every forecourt in every garage in the UK has to come from biofuel, so it comes from a tree or a plant.
Is it new legislation?
It's legislation that's been around for a while. It's by 2020, 10% of all of the fuel used within the European Union, every country, will have to be from biofuel. So if you take consumption for the European Union alone, is 25 million barrels a day. So by 2020 there will be a requirement of 2.5 million barrels of oil to be used in the transport sector. We're talking in the transport sector here.
Also, do you use it in vehicles like aircraft and stuff like this?
Yeah, there is a huge interest in, I think the future of the transport sector for energy will be will turn electrical. There will be advances in technology, or I hope there will be. Now, where does that leave us as a company? We're not too concerned by that because there are other niche markets which we believe will always be around. Aviation, as you said, being one of them. The aviation industry uses about 7 million barrels of oil per day. They have always been unfairly, they feel, penalised for their CO2, carbon dioxide emissions. If you compare them to the maritime industry, which produces more, they don't have taxes on them. It's not fashionable to really tax a fridge coming from China, but it's okay to tax the supposed rich, if you like. So the aviation industry have been trialling for a long time various biofuels. Biofuels can come from many different species of plant or tree, and there have been numerous trials, and all of the aviation industry are now looking for a system whereby they can possibly have a quota so that the percentage of their fuel used will be biofuel.
But as is, it's good for machineries and other stuff. So
yeah, it's very versatile. It is very, very similar to a fossil fuel. If you put it in a hybrid car, you do need to do some things with it. We're talking about diesel here, a replacement for diesel. which is a methanol sort of replacement rather than an ethanol replacement. But the end uses are, we're using it every day, even though we don't know it. We're already using it every day.
Wonderful.
And there are other avenues also. As it is, it's basically similar to a hydrocarbon, which is fuel. So it can also be used within plastics. All around us, on this table there are plastics.
And I believe there is a better lubrication for that and less damages for the engine.
For the engine, yeah. Well, the reports that have come out from the aviation industry, obviously they have to study the effects of this very carefully because it's quite a tricky area. And the studies that have come out is that because the lubricosity, i.e. the sort of viscosity of the fuel, it seems to actually have a better effect on the engine, so they have a better economy, which is not a huge amount, but it's better for the engine as well. Okay.
And I'd like also to ask a little bit about the company Sustainable Agroenergy. Would you just tell us a few words about the company itself?
Basically, Sustainable Agroenergy is it's a company. It was formed a while back under a different name, and it works in research and development in some plantations in Asia, looking for different strains of crop to use, which was best, which areas were best, and we then turned PLC March last year. That was part of the process of just growth of the company and setting up funds, which we're looking to do. But Sustainable Agroenergy, basically, we're a development company, so we'll take land, we'll identify land, we'll take the land, we will then plant it out with species of crops, and we promote that for investors as well. That's part of the company, and also we have our own plantations which we keep for ourselves. The basic business model is quite simple. We have a lot of land. We have a lot of infrastructure behind that land, i.e. crops, labour. We could carry on doing what we're doing but at quite a slow pace, or we could open it up for other people to be involved and offer them half of the returns. And we could grow at a much larger pace. Every biofuel company, for the first couple of years, there are huge costs which need to be covered. And so it's a way for us to expand quicker, really. And then when we start getting yields, maybe at the end of year one, which are they're quite minimal on some of the trees, which are because we do use primarily tree-borne species, we do start getting a return, and that really covers our costs for the first year, which is how we can grow at a quicker pace.
But it's really great to know that you're actually having annually returns from the first year.
Well, one of the species we use is called Jatropha. Jatropha in some countries it's actually classified as a weed. It's that prevalent. It's hardly a shy, retiring sort of flower, and you will get a yield, a minimal sort of yield in the first year, but we can, offer a return in the first year because we also utilise other crops like sweet sorghum, which is maybe an Asian equivalent to sugarcane. Which will give a yield within 90 days, so we can sort of maximise the return. Right.
Can you just talk a little bit about how the investment actually works? Just a few words about that.
Okay, the investment is fairly simple. We have a couple of different investments, but I'm going to keep it pretty simple. The premise of all of our investments is the land must be held in trust by an independent company. So we use a UK trust company. They hold the land and your asset, which is the land and the trees planted on it. That is yours, held in trust by a trust company. Then the basic premise of all our programs is it's a 50-50 revenue share from its year 3 normally. The first 2 years we fix a return while the trees mature. There can be variability in yield, so we just fix. And then from year 3 onwards, it's a 50-50 revenue share.
The prediction is about what?
The predictions on returns, we are looking at about a 20% return on investment. We have to bear in mind this is farming, so there is going to be variability in yield. This is dependent on oil prices, although the prices I have indicated are based on quite a low price of oil being achieved, so we would hope for more.
So 20% is conservative?
20% we reckon is conservative. We reckon that's conservative return.
And in what way this investment is better than the traditional investment that we are familiar with?
Okay, I don't really know a huge amount about the Israeli sort of markets at the moment. You know, compared to the UK and maybe the rest of Europe.
Talking about money market, bonds, you know, that's kind of.
Okay. Well, you know, traditionally in the UK we've had a lot of property speculation, and a lot of people have invested in property, money markets, and bonds, and they seem to have had a little bit of a loss on a loss at the moment. So. How do I feel this is better than a traditional investment? I don't know if I can say this is. It depends how traditional investments perform in the future. You know, I can't really say. At present, what I can say is
because it's a real thing. It's something that's actually grown, has biological growth.
It is a tangible asset. You do own the land. You own the asset. It is, I feel, very well future-proof because it's linked to the price of oil. The end product and the end return you will get is linked to the price of oil, which I do believe we've reached peak oil. Peak oil being the point where we use more oil than we find, and I think traditional supply and demand will dictate that the price will go up from there. I also have to say at this point, I think that this is an ethical investment. It is a social investment. So you are actually doing something for the environment. You are helping people in disadvantaged countries, and you are also getting paid for that, and a good return. So in that respect, I would say it would be better than a traditional investment. Excellent.
Just a few words. You just mentioned the trust, which is very important for people to know that they have confidence, that it's written on their name, and if you can just say a few words about who is the company and how many years they work and so on.
Citadel Trustees, they're a UK trust company. They've been around for a long time, way over 25 years. The reason we've actually used them is they do have some experience in Southeast Asia. They have offices in Thailand and in China, so the reason we utilise them is because of that purpose. Basically what they do is they will hold the land in trust for you, they will act as a registrar, so they will, the land will be subdivided up, and they will make sure that each client is getting a new allocation of land, and they act as a focal point for that, so they will be the focal point for that. So if a client chooses to invest, they will receive their documentation of their lease from Citadel, which is a UK company, UK trustee, and they will receive their documentations direct from them, and they can communicate with them as well if need be. Okay?
I really want to thank you. I think that it's going to be quite interesting to know that the green investment is a new vehicle, and it's really with excellent returns, as you said, sort of 20%, which is really high. And I really hope that we're going to have lots of business together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.